Good evening and salutations, my Days of Our Lives fans. This episode, and I got the wrong damn notes. So let's start off with Chad first. Chad is hitting hitting the bottle kind of hard at the Brady pub, and Eric comes over and Eric's like, "Yo, listen, you're being cut off." But he's not listening to him. He wants to drink. He's angry. He's upset. So Eric winds up calling Sonny. Sonny comes down there and he tries to get him to stop drinking and everything like that. And after Chad tries to hit him, he's like, listen, let's just go back to the house. So eventually, Chad tells him the reason why he's been, hitting the bottle so hard. Between the fact that, each time that they think that they're getting closest on the suspect, it's to somebody else. They keep getting the wrong person. And he come to realize that it doesn't really matter. Because even when we do find a real killer, it's not going to bring her back. And that's the truth of the matter. It's not gonna bring her back. But also it's more to do with the fight that he had with Thomas. And that's the major reason of why he was hitting that bottle so hard. About the fight that they had and just how he feels like he can't make his kids happy. And it's hard for him to be around his kids because his kids want their mother and he can't, you know what I'm saying? Like it's very difficult. He's having a tough time and it's all boiling to the surface. And when everything starts to boil to the surface, you gotta let it out somehow. So if he's not gonna be drinking, he's gonna be crying. Felt better after that, but I get it. And I'm surprised that no one bothered to sit there and say anything about counseling. I mean, they said counseling for the children, but, like, what about him? You know? I mean, while it's great, and I mean that in a bittersweet way as far as watching him go on this journey of grief and loss and, you know, between that and being a father, it's tough, but it's good to watch because it doesn't shy away from that, and that's the reality of the situation. Um, Sarah was talking to Sonny for a little bit because Sarah tried to call Chad, and I'm like, he's not. You know what I'm saying? You keep calling, keep leaving messages. He's not in the mood to really sit there and talk. And what are you gonna sit there and say? Oh, by the way, yeah, I didn't do it. So yeah, I just wanna get on the record, didn't do it. Like that's not helpful. So Xander comes to the police station acting like a jackass. Okay. I get that he wants to sit there and ride for Sarah and protect her and everything like that, but he comes in there, he accuses Jada of harassing Sarah, and she doesn't like that. She doesn't like, what I'm saying, and I don't blame her. Now, Jada's like, listen, I get it. Sarah says she has an alibi. It just happens to be her ex-husband that still has feelings for her. Like there's a amount of bias in there. So she's like, she's not completely clear just because she miraculously had an alibi. Xander gets all angry, and she's like, "Yo, I'm not gonna take it." And Rafe was like, "No, you need to sit there and dial it back a little bit." But I'm like, "What does she need to dial back? This dude's literally getting in her face, accusing her of something that she didn't do when she's simply doing her job." So they argue for a little bit. He leaves, and then Rafe says something, and she's all like, "Oh, I'm sorry." I'm like, "What are you sorry for? You're literally just not there doing your job." And given the energy that he came in there with, I don't blame her whatsoever. But she's pissed off about that. And Eric comes in there I guess he had to sit there and make a statement or something like that. And they get to talking. She tells him that she's still angry at Xander and everything like that. And Eric tells him, tells her about the fact that Xander and Nicole had sex. So she finds out about that, and later on, Jada asks him out on a date, and he says yes. And Nicole, caught the tail end of that conversation, and the look on her face, she looked like she was bothered. And I'm like, no, you don't. you don't get to sit there and look bothered. You don't get to do anything. You get to sit there and smile. You need to sit there and be happy for him. I don't want to sit there and hear that whole, like, I saw the look on her face, and the look was jealousy. But I'm like, bro, you're married to somebody else. You're not allowed to actually. And I know it sounds stupid. I'm like, you're not allowed to actually have a feeling of jealousy when you're literally sitting there married to somebody else. That's your choice. You made that choice, so deal with it. Period. I have no sympathy for that whatsoever. Now Xander comes back in there, and he's fuming in the room. He comes back, and Sarah's like, "What's going on?" And Xander tells Sarah that she's not completely clear, because there's a certain amount of bias with the fact that her ex-husband is giving her an alibi, given the fact that he still has feelings for her. So she's like, "Yeah, you're right." But she's like, I can't be in two places at one time. No, I think Xander was like, you can't be at two places at one time. And they both realize, you know what? With that whole Sarah mask, you can. And they draw a conclusion that, most likely who have the most motive to do it is Gwen, and to make sure that she saw, to make sure that she was seen. Because if Lucas isn't lying, then, Gwen made sure that she was seen with Sarah's face on before she left. So the next scene, well, they end the scene by, excuse me, they end the scene by saying that they're going to talk to or track down on Gwen. Given that, Gwen told Xander where she's staying at. So Gwen comes over to see Jack, and Jack just has that look like, oh yeah, I'm not surprised, you got out or whatever. Now Gwen is all like, oh well, listen, it was Kristen's doing, I didn't sit there and try to do any sort of dirty scheme or whatever to get out, and I was willing to sit there and take my penance and everything like that. And I'm just like, Jack has that look like, just get to the point. Because she comes over there, she acts super phony. She's all like, "Oh, how are the kids doing? Oh, that pizza place, it seems so fun." And it was one of those things. It wasn't make my skin crawl, but it was like, it was just irritating me. It was irritating me, and it clearly looked like it was irritating Jack. So Jack was like, "Yo, get to the point." So after that, again, she starts talking about, "Oh, well, Kristen let me out and everything like that," and they talk for a little bit before Rafe comes over. Now, Rafe is not there telling Jack, Sarah has a possible alibi. Gwen, Gwen being the idiot that she is, just has to chime in, oh, well, Lucas did sit there and say that he saw her. So, and I'm like, bro, no one asked you to chime into this conversation. He was literally sitting there updating him that Sarah may possibly be cleared. And of course, that gives Jack a bit of comfort because they're family. So I'm just like, bro, the fact that you came out and said something like that, like, I feel like in a lot of ways, like, he didn't, I think Rafe may sit there and think about that later on when the truth comes out, but, no, I'm surprised Rafe was like, yeah, no, I know. But what are you supposed to say? It almost sounds like you want Sarah to be guilty. Um, so yeah, he comes over there, he gives him an update, and he leaves. And I don't remember what else happens after that. I felt like in a lot of ways the scene didn't really go anywhere. So I don't know if I just blacked it out because I was bored or just I don't think anything really came from the scene. Pauline is an Pauline, Paulina is an interesting character because there's a lot of times where she shoots her mouth off before she thinks. And at first, she's sitting there talking to Abe about him being governor and everything like that, and how stubborn he is, and how good it is for, Salem and everyone else if he steps up and he becomes governor. Which is true. He would make a great governor. But, when she's all like, oh, you're being all stubborn about it, and he's like, yeah, because it's my career. Eventually, Nicole comes by, and after her trying to talk about, oh, you can sit there and help me out. And it's like, yo, she just, got through with, being mugged and everything like that. Like, you might want to sit there and just breathe and let her talk. And in the beginning, she tries to steer it to herself again. She's like, oh, I know what it's like being mugged. That time we were in Miami. And I'm like, well, again, this is about her. This isn't about you. And I'm like, you're also a little late on dropping the whole trying to connect it with Beyond Salem. But I'm like, whatever. So after she tells a story about Eric saving her, she's all like, oh, that's so romantic. When are you two going to be tying a knot and getting back together? Or, yada, yada, stuff like that. And eventually Abe is like, yo, listen, she's married to somebody else. She's like, oh, okay. And I'm just looking and I'm like, this is exactly what I mean. She shoots her mouth off first before she really thinks about what she says. And a lot of times, it makes her look like an idiot. And I generally feel bad for people like that because if you look at Paulina's character, she's not an idiot in the sense of being a business, smart, savvy woman and, a woman with a good heart. But, when you first talk to her, first impressions, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get a good impression from somebody like her. Because they shoot their mouth off first, and they think about what they're going to sit there and say later on. I'm like, you don't even know if she was dating somebody else or what the situation was before you just start assuming that they're together. Now, after she leaves, and, she apologizes, she's like, oh, well, they got chemistry, this, that, and the third, and I can't help it. I was like, sweetheart, you can't help a lot of things. Which is why people look at you the way that they do. And it's sad because you kind of look at that character, or sometimes people get the impression of, oh yeah, she's kind of a lot. When you say she's kind of a lot, it's basically just saying that we don't take her seriously because she's kind of a lot. Man, going down the line is so bad. Here's the thing. I also feel bad for Jada though too, because yeah, she asked him like, are you single and stuff like that and whatever. But we all know that Eric, for some ungodly no reason, still has a thing for Nicole. Despite the fact that, she cheated on him and then lied about it and was going to continue to lie about it for the rest of her life if she didn't get caught. For some odd reason, he still has feelings for Nicole. And Jada Smith, they're coming to this fresh and they're thinking, okay, cool, we're going to have a chance, be together. And the whole while, he's sitting there like, oh, I'm still having feelings for this other girl. Like, what are you doing? And I guess sometimes the best way to get over someone is to get with somebody else, but I feel like in the same time, it's just, you're using them. And that's just not right. I mean, granted, in this world, I feel like, I'm not going to sit there and get all cynical about it, but I don't know. I just have a feeling like he's going to do something. He's going to start acting a certain way. And he's going to want to break in her heart, which is bad because I like the character so far. But I'm just like, the whole time, Nicole's going to be sitting there getting all jealous. And like, keep that ish to yourself. Okay, you made your choice. You lied with it. Ain't nobody going to be sitting there feeling bad for you. I think that's about it for the most part. Not too much of anything else really happened in this episode. But, everybody's chiming in. Like, hell, I even saw a video with Brock TV and they're talking about his thoughts on Days moving to Peacock. I think we're all in agreement as far as reviewers. that we understand that from a fan's point of view, from the senior's point of view, it's messed up. Like here's the thing: everyone is entitled to their feelings and their opinions. But at the end of the day, regardless of what anyone wants, wishful thinking, hopes and dreams, whatever you want to sit there and call it, this comes down to money. Bottom line, this comes down to money. And, while a lot of people could sit there and be like, oh, they're just being all money happy, they just want more money and they want to sit there and try to get it from us. At the end of the day, the company is not going to be sustained by love and admiration and wants. There's a huge cost to making this show and making these episodes 5 days a week. And everything goes up. And the bottom line is, they just don't have the money to continue what they're doing on NBC. They just don't. Now, I know that Brock TV was right there talking about, times are changing. A lot of stuff is being moved over to streaming service. A lot of people don't even actually even have cable boxes. Yeah, some people do. But there's a lot of people that don't. Streaming services, for the most part, is kind of where it's at. Unfortunately, there's a lot of streaming services to choose from. And you wind up buying more streaming services because your favorite show's on this one, or it's on that one, and it's on this one, and you gotta sit there and want to get in three just to kind of keep up with it all. So trust me, I get it. Now, Brock TV was excited about it. I'm not really too sure how James feels about it. I'm personally in the middle when it comes to it because, yeah, it sucks that I gotta sit there and get another streaming service to get it. But at the same time, I mean, the alternative is that it doesn't, it's no longer on the air. It's no longer on the air. Point blank, bottom line, it is just done so. While some people may actually be happy about that, or may just be like, all right, just do it. Unfortunately, other people may feel differently. It's the same thing with As the World Turns and Guiding Light and, all the other stuff. That they're happy that, at least this show is going to continue. With other shows, a while ago, I think somebody was like, they had like 24 soap operas on the air. And when I started watching soap operas, I think they had at least 10. They had at least 10. It was Passions, I think Guiding Light, all My Children, One Life to Live, Poor Charles. They had a lot of stuff. So, and now it's down to 4. And to be honest, it's still down to 4 because the show is still going to be continuing. My whole thing is for how long? How long? You gotta sit there and remember, not everyone's going to sit there and jump on board. Some people, for different reasons, it's just the principle of it, or they're just used to watching it on network television. That's always been a thing, and, that's just, they're not willing to sit there and change. I personally don't like a lot of stuff that's on network television. I really don't. Just for much different reasons, and I'll probably go into that when, next time I do a live stream. But just for argument's sake, I don't really like network television. Just don't. Don't get me wrong, there's been some great shows that I've loved that's been on network television, but just as a whole, it just doesn't work. Again, I'm not going to really get into the reasons why, but for me, it doesn't work. And, yeah, so I mean, what I ultimately, I think this is a good move for the fans that want to continue watching it. I don't think that it's going to last for too long because not everyone's going to be on board. Streaming services, if you don't get enough people to sit there and watch this show, then they're not going to find a reason to justify, keeping it on the air or on their streaming service. And at that point, the show will go. And I think that's what's going to wind up happening. And I do think that, like we were talking about in the chat yesterday, that this is a domino effect. This is a domino effect. And the thing is, if this show let's just say this show survives, right? You do really good, you do good numbers, and, it's good. Then the other networks are going to follow suit. Because, again, it comes down to money, and these shows are expensive. They're expensive as hell. It can only trim costs by so much. So, most likely, they're going to sit there and follow suit. They're going to do the same thing. They're going to put it on, on a streaming service. Unfortunately, because it had no choice, it's going to be the test dummy. It's going to be the test dummy. And that could be a good thing or a bad thing. Show fails on the streaming service, the other soaps are definitely going to have to sit there and step up their game. Because when you really think about it, when was the last time you've been watching an episode of any one of these shows and you were just like you were just really happy that you stayed home, that you watched it for that hour, it was cliffhanger, and you can't wait to sit there and see the next episode. I know people had that feeling back in the day, but now it's just, sometimes they're just really mundane episodes where they'll have a filler of like 2 characters not really doing anything. You're watching this for an hour and you're just like, you get to a point you just get annoyed when they click back to a certain group because they're not doing anything. They're not doing anything. They're not adding value to the show. They're not adding something that's going to captivate you. You just know that they're just there for filler. And let's not even start talking about the filler episodes. So, the times is changing, and for the better, for the worse, whether you want it or not, it's here. You're either going to sit there and support this new venture, or you're going to sit there and just be like, I tap out, good luck. Anyway, with that being said, I'm going to go. I want to thank you for watching. Be safe. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. See you in the next video.